My eyes shot open. I simultaneously took a sharp inhale of stale air. How long was I out? I rubbed my forehead, burning with pain. That was gonna bruise later. Looking up, I spotted the culprit. A metal beam hanging down from the ceiling, having broken through where the white tiles of a drop ceiling once were. The hallway was darker and more decrepit than I remember. I sat myself up and looked down the hall. Rusted lockers on each side, once loved, now lonely. Papers were strewn randomly all over the floor, and at the very end of the hallway, a set of metal double doors leading to the outside. The twilight light shone through. Fuck! I must have been out for a while. I quickly got to my feet and dusted off. I was not looking forward to being in this place after dark. Nobody knows where I am. The thought might even terrify me if I entertained it for much longer, but I can't make things worse than they are. Finding myself to my feet, I took a step closer, forward with a new sense of determination. The sounds of ancient paper crunched beneath my feet. Okay, class, the teacher said authoritatively. Today will be... Wait, we're missing one. After a moment, a child rushed into the classroom. Here I am, the child shouted, trying to conceal that he was out of breath. The young child sat in the only empty seat in the classroom. He let his book bag drop to the floor beside him. A few of the other children giggled amongst themselves. Eli, you've been late every day this week, Sister Everhart said, matter-of-factly and with a tone of annoyance. I know, Sister Everhart. I'm sorry. It won't happen again, I promise. The attire of the penguin-suited teachers once amused him, but it was now a source of fear. His promises, though, did not satisfy Sister Everhart. He didn't really know whether she had convinced herself that she was genuinely helping him, or if she just got a sort of sick kick out of this. He didn't really care when he was bent over the knee of what might as well have been an unmerciful god, and the whacking only ceased long after the class stopped thinking it was funny. He tried to hold in the tears at first. He wasn't sure how much of the pain he felt was physical, how much was emotional, and how much was simply knowing that he'd get a second serving when he got home. Perhaps the pressure of a world you have no control over can weigh on a child's soul. When you have nowhere to go to feel safe, and you've been taught all your life to be obedient to the authority, even the ones that hit you, having nowhere else to go, you are beaten into a life of compliance based upon fear. As in this young one's case, he lived in a state of near constant anxiety, knowing that any perceived affront was enough to bring swift discipline from those who will never deal with the consequences. In times like these, crying over a nun's knee as he was humiliated in front of all of his peers, he wondered if human kindness was a myth. The students watched, and through his watery eyes, he caught a glimpse of a man watching helplessly through the window of the classroom door. I looked through the window of the classroom door. A shiver ran up my spine. I kicked away some debris, obstructing the function of the door before I was able to successfully pull it open. But it did not budge easily, sending a loud screech throughout the school. With it, a burst of air brushed by me, sending my hair into a dance before settling back upon my head. Well, if anybody is here, they know I'm with them now. The thought made me feel very uneasy. I quickly filed that thought away in the things to ignore until I'm safe cabinet. The last thing I needed to do was scare myself more. Entering the room, it was not but a few steps before I solemnly stood, allowing the memories to flow back into my head. Beyond the couple knocked over desk and several layers of dusk, including that over the windows which darkened the already twilight glow, classroom was quite preserved. My racing heartbeat settled. Wherever my body is, I am not right now, for my mind took me to memories I had forgotten, or perhaps repressed. I thought of faces I hadn't seen in years, toys I used to play with, the smells. I thought of a past that might as well not even been my own. It was like learning of my childhood from a second-hand source while still being able to feel, to remember. It's funny how time works. How we become much different people, unrecognizable to our childhood selves. Through happiness, through sadness. Time does not care, it continues on. And I think perhaps one of the saddest thoughts we could have is the realization that all of our memories, both cherished and hated, will be forgotten. If not in our own lives, then the many that will come after. I snapped out of it and I went across to the room where I remembered it would be. There was a 2-shelf bookshelf just underneath the windows. I spotted covers of bright children's books, more colorful than the rest of the room, even when it dampered under a layer of dust. And little doohickey teaching aids. I saw the 2 liters of soda, now empty, connected together at openings. Some small foam blocks. I grabbed a handful and I just squeezed. I remember wanting to do that as a kid. It doesn't feel as satisfying as I thought it would. But there it was, under the twilight glow of the window, an old repurposed wooden box. I grabbed it from the shelf and the pounding in my chest slowed as I opened it. I shifted around, looking at all the various rocks, until I spotted the one I was after. Smooth. I picked it up and wiped the dust off the window and held the rock up. There it was, blue goldstone. It was a dark rock, speckled with what appeared to be gold flecks. From our perception, it looks like the night sky contained in a rock. The what might as well have been stars within the stone twinkled, even in front of the dim light. I stared in fascination for a moment before I noticed that through the window the twilight was passing, and the shadows of night began engulfing the earth. My eyes briefly widened as I turned. It was time for me to leave. Suddenly, a loud crash, something large falling over, an object shattering and clanging as they hit the floor, echoed throughout the school. In that moment, I died. It was as if even my heartbeat stopped so that my sense of hearing may be heightened. My mind raced through the possibilities, but I landed on the cautious assumption that I was not alone. It would have taken a lot of power to make that much noise. Too convenient for some wood of a tall bookshelf to give out now that I was here. The beating in my chest was not quiet for long because now it was all I could hear, and I struggled to hear beyond it. Was it a wild animal? Oh, coyotes are around these parts, but no wolves and no bears until a few hours up north. Perhaps it was a homeless person who had heard me earlier and decided to scare me off from his home, or perhaps someone else that was here that didn't want me to know that they were here. My feet felt so heavy as if they were in solid concrete, but I knew I must move far. I no longer was safe. I approached the door with more caution than I've ever shown with anything my entire life, with slow footfalls ensuring I was hyper aware of every little noise I made.